and I just have to make sure I'm not getting feedback. Okay. All right, we are good to go. Oh, Bob, 10 inches of rain in Southern California. Good Lord.
It just keeps pouring. It's been doing this for days. So,
on the one hand, being in California, I have to say I'm really glad for the water, right? Because we've had
right, for a while we were dying for no water. So,
exactly. It's one thing or another.
watch what you ask for.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to start recording here, and I'll go ahead and welcome everybody here. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. In the aftermath of or in the current huge storms that we're having in California. Glad you can join us. If you've been around FMBR for a while, you know Suzanne Taylor because she's been here before. Always really fascinating. She has been involved with films since she graduated Phi Beta Kappa and summa cum laude from NYU. Having been an actress, she crossed over to the other side of the camera as the executive producer of the 2002 feature documentary Crop Circles, Quest for Truth. She's the producer and director of What on Earth? Inside the Crop Circle Mystery, which got a good review at the New York Times and was Best Feature Documentary at the UFO Congress Film Festival, where the first film got an audience award. Sorry. What on Earth had its TV premiere on CPT 12, a Colorado PBS station. Suzanne is a crop circle authority on the Ancient Aliens television series on the History Channel. She was the producer of Brother, Can You Spare a Paradigm, the controversial TEDx West Hollywood program that has been serving to get issues about non-local reality into the public eye. That was the one with, I think, Rupert Sheldrake, right? Suzanne?
It's a long story.
It's a long story. It was very controversial, and
He's involved, yes.
And so needed. I was so glad that you did that and got that out there. But so you have been working at the edge of paradigm shift for a long time, and I'm so grateful for it. And that's kind of what you want to talk about tonight, about
Yes,
how we can use our collective visioning, right, to map a way forward. How do we tap our collective intelligence and creativity to map a way forward? So I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for being here.
Hey Judy, all I see is you. I clicked on gallery view, but it doesn't give me everybody. Is that possible? Or do I?
No, it's just a webinar. It's not a meeting, and so you won't be able to see everybody unless somebody raises a hand and wants to speak directly.
Okay. So I'll talk.
And it's just you. Once you give your presentation,
I don't even get you.
You'll see me, but no one else will.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can go ahead anytime.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, hello, wherever you are. I thought I'd give you a little background. What am I doing trying to save the world? Who am I? So I thought I'd just catch you up on where I come from. I'm an only child of very loving parents. My dad was big fish in little pond. He was president of his bar association and president of everything he ever was in, but it was never the United States. And when I would come home from school with a 98, the joke was, where's the other 2 points? Because I was I think I was a fabulous student because they expected me to be, and I had whatever the capacity was to do that. But I kind of grew up thinking I was supposed to get 100. So, look at the world. Oh my God, look at the world. How am I going to get 100 out there? So just a little trip through memory lane. I got very involved in the human potential movement. And at first it was discovering ourselves. Who am I? All of those technologies and techniques and what have you. And eventually, I stopped doing what I had been doing before. I was a drama major in college, and I did have quite a nice little acting career, mostly making commercials. I was very successful making commercials. Um, so, well, somewhat responsible for that was it was pre-women's lib, and my husband was not too keen on my doing anything other than taking care of the children. So I had to sort of sneak out, and commercials only take a day or two to make, so I could get away with that. But eventually, we got rid of him, and we got into self-discovery and what's the world all about, um, and I went from, as I say, the early days looking for yourself, to look into the world. What can we do together? And before I launch into this current episode of what I'm doing, which is rather daring and outrageous, and I thought maybe I would show you the trailer for this movie that Judy was talking about that I made, the one where I'm the filmmaker. I'll just give you a little background. The reason is because it'll show you kind of where I'm trying to change the world, actually, because that's the only reason I got into the crop circle phenomenon. I'm not a basic woo-woo person, even though, I'm into self-discovery and spirituality, but not crystals and that sort of thing. But I used to have a lot of programs at my house. My house was a big gathering place in Los Angeles for the new age. And we had all kinds of events that would go on here. And the most successful one was this outrageous, huge crowd that showed up for crop circles. And it was a really fabulous presentation, and it hooked me. It was like, whoa, if they are coming from elsewhere, that means we're not the only intelligence in the universe, which we speculate about. Oh, we must not be. There's trillions of galaxies. But we don't have any. At this point in time, we take it where it's us. And I thought, if we discover it's not us and really prove that, and the crop circles could do that, we have to kind of recalibrate everything, our arrogance, our superiority, our pushing things around, and we get humble. We'd have to get humble. When you make big cosmic changes, like when Galileo and Copernicus took Earth out of the center of the universe, it changed society. It just refigured it. Everything had to reconform to the container that we were in. And so too, if we discovered alien life was for real. So the evidence was, you couldn't prove. I mean, it really looked like, and I shouldn't say past tense, it looks like we have been visited. So in 1993, I joined a tour group and went to the circles. And by the time 1996 came, I'd been back. And I remember on the trip home saying, okay, here's my mission. I'm going to let the world know about this. How do you let the world know about anything? You make a movie. And since I'd been an actress, it wasn't totally foreign to me to be in the entertainment world. So I started looking around for who would make a movie with me. And I finally found a director who actually had a girlfriend who was a crop circle person who took him over there. And he got so excited that he was trying to get IMAX to fund him to do a crop circle movie. And I said, hey, if they don't fund you, I will. And that's what happened. So the first movie was Crop Circle's Quest for Truth. In truth, it wasn't the movie I wanted him to make. I wanted him to make the passion of the crop circles, how it could change the world. And he made the objective reality. Here's crop circles, and this is this about them, and this is that about them. And I thought, oh, no, that's not the movie I want. I had a big war with him, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I thought, okay. I watched him. I was on a shoot for 10 weeks, and I told him what to do. I knew the subject much better than he did. So I was guiding the shoot, watched how he did it, and I thought, I can do that. what you do is you hire people who know what they're doing. You have to have a sense of the overall, but I don't have to be the cinematographer and all the different functions. So that's what I did. And so my movie is a much better movie than the first movie. But I thought I'd show you the trailer. Hopefully Judy knows how to hit the button. It's only 3 minutes, but you get the idea of my sensibility about what I'm trying to do in the world, trying to give a big message. So you okay, Judy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let me just find it here. Can you see it?
That's it. I don't know, you can make it bigger
Worldview
without all that size.
what we allow ourselves to perceive.
Our existing worldview and the way we think right now is failing us.
To stand up.
Bad connection.
Yeah,
Mm.
this is the internet problems we were talking about.
It's not urgent. This isn't really my presentation, so to speak. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't. I can give people a link so they can watch it after.
I'll put the link in the
Okay.
in the comments because it looks like it's.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
Entirely new and unfamiliar, but realities requires a lot of heroism. It was only, 1620 that they put Galileo on house arrest?
Everyone found it astonishing that these complicated works of art, sometimes as big as 2 football fields, were turning up in crop fields overnight. In fact, eyewitnesses say the patterns take only seconds to go down.
We've got this breathtaking beauty. This is phenomenon A. Phenomenon B is that the world can ignore it.
Yes, there are man-made formations, but the totality of it is such that there has to be something bigger at work here.
The first time I walked into a circle, it was like, oh my God, what has the power to do this?
In terms of the real world as it is, this could not be made.
When you sit and think about it, I mean, that whole concept encoded geometrical designs and influence so far out there.
Most successful areas of research in rock formations are undoubtedly geometry and mathematics, because it's about the unfolding of the mathematical or geometrical structure within creation.
You cannot take rock circles in isolation. They're a tip of a multi-tipped iceberg, and they connect up with UFOs, they connect up with psychic phenomena.
Governments, armies, church does not want this out in the world because it changes the world, it changes humanity.
Is the crop circle phenomenon going to unite us as one humanity in relation to other intelligent life? Will we become better stewards of the planet and we live in peace?
That is so gorgeous. You look at that and you think, what on earth made that?
Okay, that's sort of over. That was very jumpy and lousy sound. I hope you got the sense of it. But is it funny that we found that was a dowser saying what on earth made that, and so convenient since the title of the movie was What on Earth. So trailers are fun to put together. Trying to hit the highlights, but I think you get the idea of what my passion is, to take the world in hand and do something with it. So after my movie situation where I could not get that movie broadly popular, the next big thing I did was TED. Judy gave you a little bit of that. I thought, I've got to get a platform. The circles were a platform. I did many talks, many showings, that was a career for a bit there, for a long stretch, actually. But then I thought, okay, what's next? And okay, TED's already got this platform. I don't have to, invent the wheel. I don't have to start again. I'll just be a TED producer, because I also had a lot of ideas for TED about how they could do it better. I thought I was going to become a big star TED producer. Well, that's a long story. It involved Rupert Sheldrake and Graham Hancock, and Ted decided to go crazy and eliminate programs about pseudoscience from its platform. And, pseudoscience is all the spirituality stuff and my stuff. And 2 weeks before my program was set to go on, all sponsored, I had the city of West Hollywood was sponsoring, and they canceled my license. Quite illegal. I discovered it would cost me $5,000 and take 5 years to get the case to court. So that was not going to happen. And so they got away with an illegal canceling. And I ended up producing it myself. I spent the money. I lost all my sponsorship. But it was a fabulous program. Russell Targ did a talk that has some 9 million views with no publicity. It was that interesting to people and that good. Marianne Williamson did a talk. Larry Dossey, some of my favorite. They flew in, usually on these TEDx programs, not the big TED, but small TEDs. They do local people, but I want to do an important program. And I brought in all my favorite pundits, and it was a fabulous program. But I was now not going to be a TED producer. So now what was I going to do? So I kind of launched off into my own, okay, I thought I'd be able to pick up on a TED platform and not start again. But I thought, okay, start my own platform. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years, one way or another. So let me give you a little characterization of what I do on my platform. I'm actually quite unique. This really sounds ridiculous, but I'm just going to tell you, there is nobody looking publicly. I don't know what people do that doesn't get online, but on the net, there is nobody looking for what we can do now. We have brilliant analyses of what got us into the mess we're in, and we don't have to go over, it's a mess. A turning point. Either we're going to turn good or we're going to fall apart. But we're right there at this cusp. Could be any day, So now I got to get back to why I said that. Why did I say that? We're right at a turning point. And so why am I so strange out in the world? So we're very good at analyses, at complaining. We're great at complaining, with detail about how terrible Trump is and how awful everything is. And we're very good at utopian ideas. This is how it could be. We're smart. We know how the world could be if it were based on love and not on controversy and rugged individualism and climbing over each other and making money. And, we need a humanitarian world, not an economic world at its base. But nobody is looking for how to get from where we are to where we need to go. I tell you, it is the weirdest thing. I devoted several months, early last year, to absolutely scouring, getting on like these things, getting on everybody's Zoom things, looking who's saying anything. There is nobody dealing with this subject that I am dealing with. My mind is very creative. I have a lot of ideas. They're essentially ideas for what I would say we the people can do, because government's not going to do it. So ideas for what we the people can do, including how we can influence government as part of what we the people would do. And I have spent a lot of energy and time communicating these ideas here and there, including here. But I can't get any traction. It's like, no, go, Suzanne, but, engage. I've tried to put leaders together. I'm quite connected. I don't know if you guys all know who Brian Swim is. He's my main man for telling the universe story, which is what we really need to adopt. We've got a terrible creation story. We're sinners, we're victims, but the new creation story that comes from Brian Swim, which is Teilhard de Chardin to Thomas Berry to Brian Swim, and others, but I like Brian the best, is we're sacred creatures in a sacred universe. I mean, I could talk a long time just about that. But, you know, trying to see what we can do to make massive shifts. One of my big advocacies is, and I do a lot about this, to teach the world the universe story. It's the idea of us being in an evolutionary universe. So if you think about that, you know, it starts somewhere, the Big Bang, and it's evolving. It's creating itself. We didn't know that 100 years ago. We didn't know that till Hubble. We thought we were the only galaxy. There's trillions, you know. We thought it was dead, static. We were on this rock using it, Earth. Oh, no, it's the wrong story. Science has shown us a different story, but we haven't caught up with changing our creation story. We're still not adopting that and understanding that. We are so lucky to be human beings, glorious human beings at the very edge. We're not like the other animals. Well, we are like them, but they don't think independently. They can't affect matter, you know. We can change everything. It's in our hands. We've taken over from evolution. So here we are, masters of the universe, killing each other. You know, no. So how to make massive change? You always have to work on yourself. You always have to do local things. Yes, community is very important. But in terms of the mess that we're in and the urgency of getting wised up, we need something else. We need something bigger than that. And honest to God, I'm the only person saying that who's advocating for it. Brian would say that as well. So I've actually managed to put together leaders, thanks to Brian, who's quite beloved by many thought leaders, thought shapers. And we've put together think tank kind of Zooms, but nobody wants to stick with that. Nobody wants to really think together. Oh, they're too busy running their, I got my show to run. And that's what's going on. Everybody's running their own show and they're too busy to engage. You cannot find a think tank creative conversation about what in the world we might be doing. Okay. So all this while I'm developing ideas. What can we do? Like change our creation story. Now, no, not getting engagement. No. And the older I get, and as you can see, I'm not young, the bolder I get. It's like, wait a minute, I don't have that much time. I gotta move faster. I gotta be bolder. So I'm a little obnoxious, maybe. I have to be careful. Especially I deal a lot with English people. They're so reserved, and I'm so in your face. So I thought, well, what am I gonna do now beyond what I'm already doing, which isn't getting me what I really see as the potential and the possibility and the need? What am I gonna do? Okay, so I created what you were informed about in the mailing. I created this essay contest. And it's really to get people thinking. Nobody's thinking about what we can do. So the essay contest is it's got a little what is it called? A little ruse, I'm forgetting the word. You're in 2050. The world is working. How did that happen from where we are now in 2024? You are in 2050 when you write this, and you're looking back and saying, well, this is what we did. And you start with yourself just as, you know, a little ploy, make it interesting. What did you do? You sat next to Steven Spielberg and you gave him a movie idea, whatever, you know, you make that up. But you make up the whole thing about how did the world get working since it's not working. So this went out a couple weeks ago. It has a couple weeks to go. I'm getting fabulous entries, real good ideas. I will do things with them. They won't go for naught. But here's something interesting. So I've been writing on Substack. I don't know how familiar you all are with that, but it's the kind of, you know, maybe will become the main platform for writers. It aspires to be that. And I've been there for a year now, writing there for a year now, and just struggling to get people to communicate back, to talk in my comments, and I get engaged with them when they talk back, because to me it's a conversation too. It's not just, you know, some expert, me, anybody saying this is something to pay attention to. Yeah, but then let's talk about it. So I haven't been able to get a lot of engagement. It's frustrating, whatever, but I just think it's really kind of funny. One of the major things that would change everything is if we change our creation story. Another thing that would change everything is if we dealt with income inequality. Now, that's something government has to do, but I have ideas for how you can press on government. So, you know, we should have, as I said, it shouldn't be running on an economic base. It should be a humanitarian base. So how am I going to get people to pay attention to all my wonderful ideas? I'll put money out. It's the game we play. So I put out money prizes, and I am deluged. I mean, all of a sudden, I have so many people getting on my, a lot of more get on my mailing list and send me entries, but I've got about 30 entries so far, and we got 2 weeks to go, and I just can't believe it. All of a sudden, you know, I put out a mailing and get maybe 2 new entries. I've got like 200 new people who are signed up for my mailing list. So far, so good. And I'm really enjoying this because, you know, I'm not a hardcore institution. I'm me. So when somebody sends me something, I talk back. I say, hey, you know, if you added better to it, it would be better. So I'm in a lot of engagement with the people who are sending me things. And not only am I getting good ideas, I'm finding good people. And I'm finding this interesting, actually, because my thought was that thought shapers should be the think tank, so to speak, the ones who are running things and important people and who have subscribers of their own, communities of their own. And if they got together, that's power. But I can't get them to do it. But I'm thinking, isn't this interesting? I'm finding really tuned in people here who nobody's heard of. That can be my think tank. So stay tuned. I have that in mind, that I'm going to create, because we need to talk to each other. It really is really ridiculous how little creative conversation there is. Again, publicly. I don't know if people are running things behind closed doors, maybe, who knows. But, you know, the internet, pretty good reflection of what is going on, and people are not talking to each other. And the world runs on relationship. In fact, it's not just people, it's the whole universe. And one of the themes that Brian Swim developed, you know, The Universe is a Green Dragon was his early book. I have bought more than 2,000 copies of it. If you know me, really know me, you've got a copy of it. If you're a stranger who brushed by me someday and we had a little something interaction, you got a copy too. I pass it around all the time because to me, it's the fundamental book. It's called A Cosmic Creation Story as the subtitle. And it is so inspirational. It's so beautiful. And Brian Swim may be the most wonderful man in the world. I don't know how many men are on this because I can't see the customers here, but sorry about that. In fact, he spoiled me. I can't, he just spoiled me for being in relationship. If I can't have Brian, he's with his high school sweetheart for 50 years. nobody else is as good. But seriously, he is the most wonderful man. It fits with his work. It's the most wonderful work. He's the most wonderful man. So um, we're just he's at the heart of everything that I'm doing, and I'm actually creating a little animation. I've hired an animator to animate the universe story or aspect of it, and maybe we'll do a bunch of other little animations so that there's a tool for teaching it. Because I really, as I said, my main objective now is that the world should know the universe story, and I'm going to do whatever I can come up with to do. This animation is part of it. So here we are. What do we do, Judy? Do we take questions here? Is there that aspect of things?
Yeah, we can absolutely take questions. If people have questions, they can raise their hand or they can type them in the chat. You know, the point you make about changing the creation myth is huge.
It is.
And that is actually what somebody told me, you know, 25 years ago when I started studying shamanism. I'd gone to a presentation. The man who was presenting made this point that the way people in a society behave is informed by the myths they hold, right? The myths that a society holds. And then he says, you know, there are entire cultures on this planet that were never kicked out of the Garden of Eden, right? They don't have that story that they were rejected by God. And that's when I thought, oh, I want to learn how those people see the world. And then he said, imagine if our creation myth went something like, you know, God created this planet with all of its diversity and beauty, then created humanity and said, okay, I've started this project. I'm going to turn it over to you. Now go create something beautiful. Could you imagine how we would be behaving toward each other? I mean, you know,
I just can't believe we behaved toward each other as we did. Last week I saw 20 Days Mariupol, which is up for an Academy Award. I would not recommend seeing it. It's the most horrible film I've ever seen of human depravity. Now, you know, it's going on now. This is our depravity, not the Holocaust, but now we're doing this now.
yeah.
Oh my God, how can we do this to each other? How can human beings do this? Yeah.
Super frustrating. So Roxanne said she keeps hearing that consciousness is the primal creating force in the universe, and focused intention of a large group of people creates reality, right? Hence, she was trying to get dowsing for positive change going, which I think sounds wonderful. I mean, I think, you know, there are a lot of people working locally to create, you know, positive change.
Oh, there's lots of going on locally. That's where things are going. Many, many things local. It's the big picture that isn't being dealt with, you know, and the big picture will affect everything. So it's little this, little this, little this, but you need something that wraps it, you know, that takes it all. It's too slow, you know, to get there with, you know, the evolutionary process, the evolution's arrow points forward. If we have, and then evolution's arrow doesn't necessarily mean us, it just means the universe, the cosmos. So no doubt if there were plenty of time, I even think, you know, if humanity gets devastated, probably not everyone, and it would come back over millennia. But hey, I don't, you know, I'm not happy just being part of a grand cosmic process that'll be okay over billions of years. You know, I want it okay now. I want it okay for my children, and you know, so that requires some intervention. You can't just let evolution take its course. But it's all relationship. It's all and you know, it's the difficulties that drive us to do better. If it was all utopia, we would just be passive. We wouldn't get any better. So it's okay to have grist, except right now it's too dangerous to let that go unchecked as if, oh yeah, the process will take care of us. No, no, no. Not in any reasonable way for our little lifetimes.
Yeah, Barbara Marx Hubbard used to talk about that, crises as evolutionary drivers, right? That
She was a good friend of mine.
yeah. So, and I know she worked with Brian Swim as well. So, that worldview, because
she was wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, she had the story.
Yeah.
The story of, the spiral that we're on, and disaster drives success, and all of that. Yeah, she was wonderful. She gave the same speech for decades, and each time it sounded like it was the first time. She had a real talent.
Well, I think it was the late 80s when I first heard her speak, and she was the very first person I'd ever heard who was putting forth a positive vision for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
It was like it was a revelation, because because our story is apocalypse, right? Our story is dystopian future. It's all going to blow up and whatever. So to have people really putting out this vision of a positive future, I mean, I can't get enough of it. And Jerry's on this idea that we're coming to slowly, that we need to really come to, is that we are creators, like you said at the beginning. We are creators individually, and then collectively we can create something new.
Well, nobody's organized us. It's really interesting. Here we have the internet, and I keep thinking, wait a minute. You take to the streets, look at the trouble that takes to take airplanes, whatever, to go to those marching, Washington. We've got the internet. We could collect millions of people in one place. In my own little ideations that my whole Substack is full of, I talk about a coalition for the good. Make it simple, get millions of people participating so that some idea, something, it's just all over. You can't escape it because we're all, united. But nobody's even trying to do that. Nobody's trying to unite us. And it's really odd, it seems to me. You have all these separate groups, all with the same basic intention, getting us to a more enlightened place. But there are some liaisons, some of them support each other, but why aren't they all joining together? It's so obvious, I don't know. It's just hard work.
Yeah, I try to, in my more enlightened moments, I try to have some grace for humanity as we move through this, because I think we can only function at the level of consciousness that kind of is dominating, and we're very much like preschoolers in this idea of how to live together, how to be in harmony, how to you mentioned humility at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if we could get a big dose of humility, I think that would go a long way. But we don't, because we're young as a species, I think. I don't know.
But we really are at this, it seems like we are at a real, we've hit a wall, it gets worse and worse. And each time Trump, whatever you go, oh, this will be it. This will do him in. No, just get some more popular. So it's so impossible now. It's just impossible. We fight everything that perhaps we used to unite around. Getting vaccinated. Now we have a war. No, get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. Support these wars with money, our billions of dollars. No, don't support them. Yes, support them. The Democrats, the Republicans. We have more and more conflict where we should have more and more cooperation. And to me, that's like, we are hitting the wall. And in a way, it's like, yes, let's hit the wall, but let's get over the wall and not fall back from bouncing off the wall. So, yeah.
Sue says, why do you think humans focus on the negative even when there is a lot of positive out there?
Well, it's a good question, isn't it? Maybe it's the same way like we watch movies and that, you know, we like the crime ones and because it's juicy and you know, it's interesting and but of course that is the question. How do we turn ourselves into positive? Yeah.
It is a really good question because, you know, you're an actress and I know, you know, I've talked to a lot of actors who say, the juicy roles are the villain roles, right?
Yeah.
They like to get in there, right? And be the bad guy because it's fun.
It's interesting, you know, it's worth watching, you know, peace is not so interesting to watch. So,
Yeah, right. So also I've heard someone say, you know, as animals, creatures, our brains are wired to look for threat,
mm,
right? To keep us safe. And so we're always kind of hyper aware of what might be negative out there and we'll focus on it. And it could just be a biological imperative that we've taken into, you know, we've made it a little we've given it a little more prominence than we should.
yeah, I think that's intelligent, you know, that's our old brain. Yeah. Yeah. Still commanding the ship here.
Yeah, we need a new captain for the ship.
Really. But you know, isn't it, Judy, really, when you just kind of think about it, how could you be Putin? How could you be him and have all these lives that you've destroyed? How can you do that? How could you be human and make a war? You know, God bless Israel, but the retaliation is just beyond horrible. You know, you can't wipe out a people. These are poor dear people. How can people live with themselves when they take on something? It's unfathomable to me, you know.
You know what? The state of humanity is oftentimes unfathomable.
Unfathomable. It is.
And yet, right? That's my favorite term, and yet.
And yet, yes, there's definitely and yet, yeah.
There is,
but you know, there's a lot of and yet, and again, I'm looking and saying, well, let's get it organized, you know, because there is, it's lots of and yet, lots, enough to make a difference.
Yeah.
Not as gadflies, not as individuals, you know, we have to coordinate.
Maybe it'll happen. You know what? We'll look back from 2050 and go, 2024 was the year.
Well, in my sample, you know, I wrote a little sample in this thing that you link to where it tells you what the contest is. And my little sample was, okay, I'll give you an example. Me, I created I'm in 2050 and I'm looking back and saying, you know, that contest I created in 2024, that got the best entries. And out of those things, that's how we're at 2050, you know, something like that.
Yeah. Are you going to put out the best entries?
Oh, for sure. You know, we will make it up as we go along. You know, first of all, I didn't know if anybody would enter at all. So, oh, good. Now I have entries, but of course we're going to, you know, and I have the support. I don't know if you people, how familiar are you with the Scientific and Medical Network?
Sure. With David Lorimer.
David Lorimer. Well, he's my other great ally.
Yeah, he's great.
I kind of, with their help, made up this whole contest, and they didn't put it out as it would be too complicated to get their board to approve it to make it their official contest, but they promoted heavily as a member project, and any help I need I get from them. And you know, it's wonderful because it's the gravitas that helps me, because who am I, you know, but they have lots of cachet and my good allies, so they're there.
Well, that's why I keep thinking, you know, there are so many good people, grassroots, behind the scenes, you know, you don't hear about.
Well, I'm saying that they're all over the place. They're just not organized. You know, they're all separate. it was kind of weird. It's weird that there's so much positivity out there, and it doesn't come together to make a force.
Well, was it Thierry de Chardin had said everything that rises converges, right?
Oh, I don't know that one. That sounds good.
So so maybe, it's just it's a process. At one point it will converge. It has to, doesn't it?
uh yeah, hopefully.
And God willing, it happens before we
Really, I want it now. People say, "Oh, the kids will do it for us." No, I don't want to wait for the kids. I mean, first of all, it's a long way to wait, and God knows what horror can happen in between. We're so vulnerable in so many fronts because we're so one world, commerce and whatever. It never before were we so vulnerable. We were separated. So this goes bad or that goes bad or a country goes bad. But now everything is intertwined,
Yeah.
Internet goes down, civilization is over,
Jerry wants to talk. Jerry, go ahead.
Jerry,
Okay.
hi. We were out
Suzanne.
together in a car once.
Yeah, it was great being with you in the car and your wonderful talk. I appreciate it.
Oh, good.
Let me see.
I appreciate you. I know you're doing beautiful things there with this organization, especially.
Yeah. Well, Judy is marvelous at this organization. So, yeah, we both do our best. But I just want to state that things are, in fact, changing. Most people aren't aware of what is, in fact, happening. But I've been following it along with a bunch of friends in terms of the subtle energy side of things. And it's amazing the amount of things that are, in fact, happening to us internally within our biofields, within ourselves. And they are making a difference. We now have all sorts of abilities that we didn't have before, but we just don't realize it because it's sort of hidden away, because it's not so evident. It's not on the physical level, it's not so evident. But if you start looking at some of the things that are happening, some of the energies and subtle energies within us have been changing dramatically, and it sort of wholesale changed very, very quickly in the middle of last year. And every month that goes by, my friends and I are following it, and new things are in fact happening. Things that that we needed to have before, suddenly we don't need them any longer. Things that were bad so suddenly are no longer bad. And I'd have to really get into details of this if you were really to understand this and all the complexities that are there. But they are happening.
Well, that's good because I know this is your category. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, I'll have to probably at some point just go through all the things that are in fact happening. And I'll probably give a talk on it at some point in time.
Good.
But they are happening. And the colors that surround us, the subtle colors, changed almost overnight. I talk about if you're a blonde and suddenly you wake up one day and you're a brunette, your skin color changed from white to green or something of that nature. But that is in fact what is happening to us internally. You don't see it, but if you look at it and look at the energies associated with it, those are the things that are in fact happening to us, and more people are being affected because it's affecting everybody. It's affecting the planet, it's affecting the animals, and different types of people it affects differently. Those that we think of are more the villain types are being affected in one way, and those who are saints are affected in another way, but they're all being affected, and crops are being affected, etc. So just want to get that thought out there. And at some point, I'll get more details on it, but probably I don't have enough time to do that at this point in time.
hear that. Because I don't know anything about that. I know that's your field, and it's very encouraging to hear that, something we can't quite see is actually rising, and, actually it makes sense.
Well, think about like Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenic field, right? Maybe it's the morphogenic field that is evolving, and then we as expressions within that or arising from it will shift the way we are in the world as well. So,
Well,
Jerry, you're working on a book called The Birth of a New Humanity, right? So
That is correct. And that'll come out and it'll talk about it. And many factors are coming into play that is affecting it. The sun, the earth, the planets, the orbits, the galaxy. Energies are coming from the center of the galaxy to us and affecting us. And they're powerful energies because we're recognizing and seeing it from all these different areas. So we are, in fact, changing in dramatic ways. And I believe that. And I also believe in what I preach in terms of that we are one, and that our oneness is, in fact, there. And I talk about it in the I am and getting to the I am essence. If you have a person making a simple statement of I am rethinking, rethink I am, their energy level goes up dramatically, and you can measure that immediately. And you can do that, and you can just have someone repeat that statement. Rethink is a magic word. It spirals you into who you are. If you're saying, I am rethinking, rethink I am, it spirals you into your I am essence. Even though you may not know the meaning of those words, it'll get you there, and you'll change, and you'll be able to feel that change, and you can actually measure that change by just doing a simple pendulum test of the resonance of a person. So all these things are in fact happening, and there are ways that you can convince people that there are changes that are in fact going on. And I probably should enter your contest. But
you should write an essay.
But
yeah.
it's very good to hear that, because it's like what I say, well, collect us. And it's good to hear that there's an us to collect, that it's more broadly spread and ingested than is obvious to the naked eye. That's very good to hear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, thank you.
And Kevin wants to know from you, Suzanne, do you think AI will be a force for good or evil in the world?
Well,
That's huge.
Said about AI, everybody, of course, is so concerned that it's going to kill us, But I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. If AI I don't know enough about technology to be reliable, but if AI is ingesting everything there is, and the universe basically is this evolutionary place where we are one humanity, whether we've realized it or not, then maybe AI actually tunes in to that positivity rather than, oh, it's going to kill us. No. If AI gets everything, well, part of everything is how glorious humans are. So just in my abstract of understanding, I can see it could be wonderful. But what would I say what about AI? I guess I would say it's so new, it's so unfamiliar. And of course, we're going to be every end of the spectrum, of arguing about it or concerned about it or happy about it, or it's working its way out. And I mean, it may kill us. I don't know. But it doesn't seem to me that would be the logic of it. So I hope my logical mind is better than my scientific one.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that maybe, there will be these drivers like AI maybe that will kind of wake humanity out of our stupor.
Yeah.
Give us a little humility, but also awaken us to what the power we have, right? To the power as creators, and that we can use AI as a tool for good.
It's obviously a tool that can be incredible. I mean, it's almost like, the birth of the internet and what can that be? I remember when the internet first came along, people said, well, the problem with it is there's no way to make money on it, so it can't be successful. But this is huge, such a massive new thing, and you can't make any conclusions yet, but
Yeah.
good idea to be cautious also and to be careful and put controls in if you can. You could certainly see how the abuse can happen too, with faking people and faking things and what have you, but it's such a tool for the positive as well, which you can clearly see, of how it can just do things that humans would take millions of years to do. AI does it like that.
Yeah. Well, good. Does anybody have any other questions?
I haven't been reading the chat. And I'm going to put this essay contest thing there. Oh,
Yeah, put that, and then do you want to put the link?
Wait
Do
a
you want me
minute.
to put the link to your
Why doesn't it go in? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay, there it is.
Just so you have the detail of where to go and what
Cash prizes, and you are choosing the winner the winners on February 14th. It's next week.
It closes the 14th, 29th, our funny day that only appears once every. I thought, well, we'll put the winning announcement on a funny winning day.
Maybe it's a good omen, right? It's a leap year.
Thought so.
We can say that it's a good
Actually,
omen.
Scientific and Medical suggested that, so yeah, I thought that was
Love it. Love it. Okay. Well, everyone, thank you very much for joining us, and stay safe as the storms continue to come through. And I will post this on our YouTube channel for the people who didn't have the internet tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Judy, for letting me do this. I'm an old actress, so I really like to talk.
That's wonderful, and this is
my own theater here.
This is my favorite subject, right? The evolution of humanity and how we contribute to it. So thank you for being
Back
here.
and report on what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put it out as well.
Okay, honey.
All right.